All right, Nika. Kyle Shanahan was in a serious car accident, and we are talking about it right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
This bulletin just handed to me.
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Yes, indeed, this is Breaking NFL right here on the KeNikka Sports Channel. But first, it's time for the final countdown.
It's the final countdown.
That's right. If you are as excited as Nika and I are about the start of the NFL season getting underway, then click that like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that bell for our mascot, Frexy. Check her out running around the park. She's just the most adorable little girl, and we hope she brings some joy into your lives as well.
Thank you. And shout out to our new and returning viewers. Thank you for your continuous support and enjoy the show.
Hell yeah!
That's right. We have some somber news to report on this Tuesday as Kyle Shanahan, it was revealed, was involved in a serious car accident on July 11th. We first found out about this, however, on July 25th, on the first day of San Francisco 49ers training camp.
Wow.
And before we get into all the nuts and bolts of this particular story, I wanted to drop a personal note up front that my dad, a long time ago, way back when, was involved in a serious head-on collision on his way to work one morning in winter, and someone swerved into his lane. It's very similar to this story. And so it brought back those memories for me as a kid. And I can certainly relate to how scary that moment can be for you as a family, as your first time, like as a kid experiencing somebody that close to you involved in an accident like that. It's gut wrenching, you know, it's very traumatic. You remember it, you know, I'll never forget it. That's for sure. Thank God my dad was okay, and thank God everyone is okay in this accident. I want to start by reading this statement that came out from the Niners on Saturday morning. It said, San Francisco 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan was involved in a car accident last week where he suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Coach Shanahan will participate in team activities on a limited basis at the start of training camp while he recovers. Coach Shanahan and the 49ers organization would like to sincerely thank all first responders involved for their efforts and care. Well, I bet they would. And the assistant coach, Chris Forster, along with team coordinators, will handle head coach responsibilities during this period. It does sound like a lengthy absence here for Kyle Shanahan, though. He will be involved in the season, and he is still the head coach of the 49ers. But nevertheless, you know, he's one of the most brilliant offensive minds that we have in the game. So first and foremost, thank gosh he's okay. And secondly, you know, the 49ers are going to be affected by this right now.
Holy shnikes.
Yes, for sure. They don't know the timeline when he might return at all, because it's a head injury.
Yeah,
that can go either way.
We read somewhere that 10% of concussion injuries last less than a week. However, there are also 10% equally that last up to a year or more. And so there's a lot of uncertainty with head injuries, to say the least. Chris Sims from Pro Football Talk.
Sure.
He is actually close friends with Kyle Shanahan and his family, dating all the way back to his University of Texas days. And he knew about this accident before the rest of the world did. He had some interesting comments that I wanted to read about the injuries from this article. This was on July 27th. Before we had some crazy twists and turns with this story. He said, I got a text from Kyle's wife, Mandy. She texted myself and my wife, and it's like, oh no, Kyle's been a part of some horrible accident. And she sent us some pictures right off the bat, and it was like, oh my gosh. So just to let you know, paint the picture, you've seen the injury report, the broken ribs, 40 stitches in the face, the broken nose, broken left hand, of course, the bad concussion. But when you first see it and it's fresh and some of the cuts are still wide open, I mean, it's jarring. It's jarring. If you've never seen somebody that's been involved in an accident of any kind, like right after it's happened, it can look a bit barbaric, right?
Of course. Remember when I got hit by the bicycle?
Oh,
and
I
my
will
head
never
injury?
forget it. I'll
Well-
never forget it. I don't know if those pictures are appropriate for the show, but we might put some in so people can understand and see what you went through not that long ago.
Yeah.
Traumatic.
And it wasn't that big of a accident,
Absolutely.
but the injury looked really scary. Yeah.
To continue with Chris's quote here, he says, he was this close to maybe losing his right eye, right? The scar is so big right there. And so all that stuff was just crazy to see. And of course, I was thinking of my friend, but yeah, it's tough. And he's still battling with this concussion. He's healing. His face looks a whole lot better. But this concussion, of course, being a part of that kind of accident is lingering and it's giving him issues. And he certainly is still dealing with that. So yeah, like we said, that this might be an uncertain absence. He could miss the whole season. He could miss just all of training camp and be out there on week 1.
Absolutely. It's a head injury. It's unknown.
So you concur?
Everybody's different and the healing process is different for each person.
Absolutely. He says, quote, I think that's what shook them up, right? I don't think he'd have any problem with me sharing this. It hit him hard, right? He was emotional about it because he realized how close it was to being just a complete, utter disaster. And I just want to pause here and say, in retrospect of what we now know, yeah, I bet. Like, really, it was a disaster anyways. But, when you're that part of the accident, like I said, he could have lost his right eye. It could have been a lot worse. He's very concerned about the woman he got in the accident with and how she is and handling that situation. So there's just a lot there. And I think it was a lot for him to process. And I'm just going to kind of stop it there because we don't need to keep going and stuff. But this was just Chris Sims and his immediate kind of reaction to his friend getting in a car accident. I think it's just a normal reaction, but also I wanted to paint the picture of how serious of an accident this was. This was not a fender bender in the parking lot at the grocery store. This was serious shit.
It was a head-on collision.
Absolutely. But we got to move on to the bigger part of this story because I want to go back to the statement now by the 49ers. This was put out on the Pacific Coast at 9 a.m. and this was on Saturday.
Okay.
This was the first day of 49ers training camp. This was July 25th. You can see the timestamp down there, 9 a.m. sharp. 1 minute later, Adam Schefter from ESPN, also supposedly friends with Kyle Shanahan, puts out this tweet about the accident. Very, very interesting timing there, Nika. 9:01, just 1 minute afterwards. Do you think that this was coordinated by any chance?
It seems that way. It looks more as a PR piece done by Adam Schefter for the 49ers.
Right. When you put something out within this close of an actual PR release, you're just an extension of the PR.
Exactly. But also the fact that those outlets, specifically Adam Schefter, got the memo from the 49ers that they're going to release this statement. So they got the statement probably half an hour before, and he was just ready with the response, which falls right into the PR.
And if you notice, it paints him off as a victim right away
Yes.
because it's all about like the 3 ribs, his hand, broken
Feel sorry.
nose, 40 stitches in his face. And yeah, that's awful
Of
for
course.
anybody, of course. I'm not saying that it's not by saying that he's painting him to be the victim. I'm just saying he's not reporting that Kyle Shanahan was in a car accident from the 49ers statement. He's adding to it, elaborating on known information. Like, you just don't get all that in 1 minute.
Right.
As a journalist, you're not supposed to sit on information like that in coordination with the team you're covering or the league you're covering.
Right.
That's not your role in the journalistic society. Your role is to report on what you know. Mm-hmm. And if you know
When did
that a
he
head
know this?
coach is involved in an accident, obviously he knew about it before the Niners put out that statement.
Yes.
Then he collaborated with them, or at least
Coordinated.
I will say he abided by their wishes to keep quiet about it until they were ready to tell
Okay.
the rest of the world about it.
Okay,
Which they did do. They did do that successfully. They pulled that off.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
But we know that the journalists a lot of times are asked, can you sit on this? Or can you wait with the releasing of this information?
It's crazy, right? That it's this close to the team putting it out, and it just we've suspected it for so long, and here it is right out in the open. They're not even like hiding it anymore. It's not even a 5-minute delay. It's 1 minute. And Mike Florio, our guy, Mr. Lawyer from Pro Football Talk, NBC Sports, and also Chris Sims's podcasting partner every morning on PFT Live, Pro Football Talk. He put this out on Sunday morning after the Saturday, and he said, the Kyle Shanahan car accident happened on July 14th. It was a matter of public record. The 49ers wanted to keep it quiet until training camp opened on July 25th. And instead of reporting publicly available facts, the reporters who knew about it complied. This got some attention, KeNikka. Some people really took this personally. Tim Kawakami, he says, Florio can attack me all he wants. He's trolling, which he does sometimes. I knew around Thursday that Shanahan wouldn't do the presser yesterday, meaning Saturday. I knew he likely wasn't going to be coaching at the start of camp. I could guess why. I didn't know exactly. Conspiracy, complying. Yes, Tim, that's exactly what it is, in fact. The biggest flaw that you made here in this tweet, Tim, is that you said, I could guess why. That acknowledges that you were not certain that you knew what happened, which means you should have been looking to verify that. You should have been looking to confirm that. You could have easily written this tweet saying, I knew exactly what happened. But you didn't say that. You literally admit you didn't have all the facts. You weren't pursued to continue to go get them. You took everyone at their precious word for it, didn't you?
Well, that requires work.
Oh, you mean like one of the hardest jobs in the country that just so happens to be constitutionally protected? The First Amendment, freedom of the press? Jeez, Tim, what is wrong with you? Oh, here's another one. Don Von Natta Jr. He's a senior writer for ESPN and a New York Times bestselling author, so he's definitely telling the truth all the time, right? He quoted Florio's article to start before responding to it. He said, quote, as Jay Glazer of Fox told me years ago, true journalism in sports involves finding out the stuff they don't want us to know, not reporting something that's going to be announced in 5 minutes. Implicit in finding it out is, after doing so, finding a way to report it. Yes, this is your job. Yes, I don't care who the messenger is. This is a great definition of what a sports reporter's job is. Then Don Van Natta Jr. responds to this saying, seriously, Florio? I have done this kind of investigative work for 14 years, and you've piggybacked on all my reporting and monetized it. And you learned how this speak truth to power thing works from insider Jay Glazer? I can't stop laughing. I mean, I understand his point that Jay Glazer's a meathead sometimes too. He's an insider. You know, we have our own issues with insiders, but just because he's an insider doesn't mean he wasn't saying something right. He did say it correctly to Florio, and it stuck with Florio all these years, and he uses that as sort of a guide and a beacon. So what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Because he's actually very good at doing what he does. And a lawyer, by the way, you dumbass. He might know a thing or two about the law.
Hoorah!
I love how he's sort of being a gatekeeper here on what a reporter is and who's allowed to define what their role or what their work should be. No, that's actually our job. You know, we're relying on you, the reporters, to give us, the people, the information when you have it. Not when you want it. Team you're covering wants us to have it, but when you have it. That's the job. That's what makes it hard.
That's why you don't become friends with the bodies or that you report on.
Well, and as we know, this has become a huge, huge problem, you know. And what's funny about this is Florio actually responded to him, and he said, "Hi, Don. I hope you're doing well."
Was he writing a letter?
Remember the time you whined about something fairly insignificant to me via direct message? And I said, if you don't want us to amplify your work in the future, just say the word. that offer still stands. Thank you, Mike Florio, for brightening my day with a little bit of humor. I'm going to forgive you for that Tom Brady article you put out last week, though I know that you are still wrong. He should be doing WWE, and he's going to do it. So get ready for it. But that's neither here nor there. Great comeback by Mike Florio. However, there is more of a pressing issue that we need to get to because of what the press did.
Okay.
And Eric Branch, he is from the San Francisco Chronicle. He reported on the same day as the 49ers released this press release, so Saturday, the 25th. Quote, updated story on Kyle Shanahan's car accident with perspective from John Lynch, that's the general manager, and comment from Palo Alto officer, quote, there will be no information released regarding the cause of the collision or who was at fault, end quote. That got my attention, Nika. It's like, who gets that kind of preferential treatment from the police?
Kyle Shanahan.
Well, now we know. Kyle Shanahan. It was interesting because, this created a lot of controversy online. Mm-hmm. And I want to get to that before we get to the big finish with this story, because there is a big finish coming.
This is just the beginning.
To start with, whenever you take 11 days from the time an accident happens to make it known publicly, involving a public figure like Kyle Shanahan, my first reaction is going to be, wait, what are they trying to hide?
Of course, it's 11 days.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like, and then you look at the coordinated rollout with the 49ers and then Adam Schefter right afterwards, and it's like, whoa. Like, if you're not asking questions at this point, then you're not doing your damn job. And a lot of people in the San Francisco beat were not doing their jobs. They were protecting the 49ers.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
They want to turn around and be like, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here. Well, guess what, Nika?
It's a coordinated effort. It's the same way our mainstream media works. They get their talking points from the top, and that's when they can talk and report on, not beforehand.
I go back to that tweet from Tim when he's saying, like, I could. And instead of knowing for sure, you left it to chance. And, well, guess what, Nika? It turns out that the conspiracy theorists were right for a change on this one.
Again.
Where do we go from here? Grant Cohn was the first person to discover new details about Kyle Shanahan's head-on collision. He was holding a cell phone, but was not cited for it and was not ruled to be at fault. The other driver swerved into him.
Oh, so they blamed on the driver at that time.
At that time, the other driver was said to be at fault, and this was also right here. Tony Farmer, the NFL's finest citizen journalist, found this little nugget. The Palo Alto Police Department said nobody was cited during Kyle Shanahan's crash, but he was holding a cell phone during the accident, according to the website in my comments, and this is him linking to Grant Cohn's first reported this 15 minutes ago. This site also confirms both drivers were wearing their seatbelt and airbags deployed. The other driver is listed at fault. I don't think we were ever meant to find out that Kyle Shanahan was holding his phone during his head-on collision. This could be what they were trying to hide. And yeah, I kind of agree that this was exactly what they were trying to hide, because we found out just today, Tuesday, the first full day of 49ers training camp, Kyle Shanahan was there, and I think it was sparked by Grant finding out this information about the cell phone and saying that the other driver was at fault, because Kyle Shanahan called every beat reporter into his office personally. And this is the tweet from Grant. Kyle Shanahan just called the beat writers into his office to tell us that he was at fault for his car crash, not the other driver. He swerved into her lane. I have so much respect for Shanahan for setting the record straight. He's a stand-up guy. This was from Nick Wagoner. He confirmed this. 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan just spent some time describing the events of July 14th. He wanted to clarify right up front that the accident was his fault. He took his eyes off the road briefly to find his phone, which fell between seats, and when he looked up, he had gone over the line and into an SUV. The CHP database had a clerical error attributing accident to the girl. Shanahan says that is not accurate.
No shit.
So, yeah, I'm guessing that this whole incident with Grant Cohn finding the fact that Kyle Shanahan was holding his phone and that he wasn't cited for it, and that the other driver was listed as being responsible for the accident somehow in the California Highway Patrol report.
Right.
When you start factoring all these things together, it just seems like a damn big conspiracy to hide the fact that this happened in a sense.
Not to say a conspiracy, but definitely a cover-up. And then blame the victim, the other victim.
Oh yeah. Like it was just a mistake. Oops. Like
Or
would the victim have
clerical.
ever known? Like, especially because they basically said in that statement earlier that they're not commenting on it and they're not going to cite anybody.
Right, because there was no drugs or alcohol found, therefore there's no criminal investigation required, and they want the insurance to take care of the incident or accident.
Well,
That's it.
I just want to say thank goodness Grant Cohen found this report from the California Highway Patrol, and thank goodness also that Kyle Shanahan has a conscience.
Yes.
And decided, you know what, I'm not going to let this girl, 21-year-old girl, take the heat for my mistake.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, that's
But
a stand-up.
In doing so, Kyle Shanahan is now exposed all of these beat reporters who were slamming Florio and Tony Farmer, our guy. You know, he took so much heat just for asking questions and digging around this and wanting to know, like, hey, why did this take 11 days to come to light?
Denied.
It certainly seems like there was a lot of people that were trying to get ducks in a row and make sure that they had an airtight story going before good old Grant Cohen decided to do some digging.
But the story that is being portrayed right now is that it's a dead time in football, and Kyle and his family need privacy, and that's the reasoning why they gave for not covering this for the 11 days. It's a personal matter, nothing to see here, move on.
I mean, they can be right about all those things and still be wrong about the fact that that's not their job.
Of course.
If you feel that
100%.
way, you should resign.
You
And I'm
shouldn't
not
be
saying
reported.
that to be a jerk or an asshole. It's just not the job. You have a constitutionally protected job, the First Amendment, freedom of the press. You have to uphold certain standards, including answering to us, the people, not to the institutions you cover, and certainly not to the government. That's the whole reason, you dumbasses.
Double down.
Well, that's why the mainstream media is not being.
That's why they're
like-
not taken seriously this day and age in
course
2026.
not.
That's why
ESPN?
Tony Farmer exists. That's why KeNikka Sports Channel exists. Thank you for watching, everybody.
Thank you.
We will continue to cover stories like this, especially around the NFL and sports, because it's important that somebody talks about this stuff and explains why it's important for journalists to check their bias at the door and stick to the job. You know, I was saying earlier, like, I think too many people are afraid of losing access
It's
to the
always
teams
the
that
access.
they cover. And you have to question, like, what is your motivation for example, covering the Chicago Bears? Are you there to hold Ben Johnson accountable for his decisions and Ryan Poles accountable for his decisions and Caleb Williams accountable for his play on the field? Or are you there to be a big Bears fanboy and
Have access to the locker room.
have
the
access to the
players,
locker
to
room
the
and
coaches.
the players and feel like one of the good old boys and relive your high school sports fantasies out in the professional locker room and feel like you're a part of it?
I think that's the key right here.
I feel like there's too much of that going on in the modern world, and these are the prices we pay for it.
That is one big pile of shit.
To have two people admit that they were not checking into this fully to verify what they thought they knew happened, that says a lot. Like,
As George Carlin said, this is a big club and you're not in it.
well, you know what else is a big growing club is independent journalism in this
That's very
country.
true.
And if you want to know why, then you need to look in the mirror. If you want the Tony Farmers and the KeNikka Sports channels to go away, then start doing your jobs better and start holding powerful people accountable. The coaches, the owners, the staff, the players, and stop it with like this we're friends off camera relationship. I don't know. Like, and certain people get it worse than others.
Of course.
But it all depends on access, right? If you have a player that gives you a lot of access and gives you a lot of juicy quotes, then you're probably not going to criticize that player as much. At least that's what I would believe in this day and age.
Between this gambling that's happening in sports, where's mainstream media on this?
They're absent, and it makes you wonder why they're absent. And we're going to keep asking that question until an answer reveals itself.
Well, that would be
or speculating about it till no end, but that's not this video. I do want to leave people with some final thoughts, Nika, and this once again from our friend Tony Farmer. Kyle Shanahan was driving a 2023 Tesla Model S during his accident. It comes with an optional self-driving mode, which can be found in the settings: control, self-driving, traffic-aware, cruise control. It also has a forward collision warning. From the Tesla website, warns of impending collisions with slower moving or stationary vehicles in front of you, your Tesla vehicle. It's an interesting tweet, but it also is a reminder that like just turn on the auto drive if you need to find your phone and just pull over.
Between the Tesla and the Mercedes, which car would you take if it happens to a collision?
Well, based on the results of this accident, I'm going with the Mercedes.
Me too.
Because the woman, the 21-year-old woman driving the Mercedes,
Not a scratch.
Not a scratch on her. And she was the one that got hit head on.
Yep.
So
Tesla folded like a chair. Lawn chair.
oops. Not a good endorsement for Tesla, at least in terms of the accident report. Please keep your eyes on the road at all times. You don't want to be the next Kyle Shanahan.
Thank you, Kenny, for the announcement.
Public service announcement right here on the KeNikka Sports Channel. And yeah, we'll be back with more coverage of NFL opening week right here on the KeNikka Sports Channel. Stay tuned.